It's October. No, it's not. It's not October. It's September 29th, which is really close. And I'm one of those people who really likes October. So I want to talk about some of the spookier mangas out there. And so to start, I don't know if I'll even talk about any more after this, but I definitely wanted to talk about this one because when I started reading it, I was super into it. I binge read it up to where it was at the time. And it had been a long time. Well, that's kind of a lie. I think really it's just nice to find a series that you like enough to just read forever and not stop. So the series I'm talking about is, there it is, Jujutsu Kaisen. It came out, it actually came out a couple, the volumization started happening over here in the West somewhat recently. I'm going to the Wikipedia. I need to tell you when this came out. Okay, so it started in 2017. It is still running. New chapters every Sunday, sometimes earlier, but mostly on Sundays. The anime is, or it's being adapted in the first place. It starts, this Friday actually? It's on the 3rd. October 3rd is when the anime starts. And I'm super looking forward to it because I love these sweet children. And yeah, I am going to start by just going through the whole first volume. Well, that's a lie. I'll tell you what I'll do when I start discussing it. But I'll run straight through it and then I'll tell you what I'm excited about, and then that's going to be the end of the video. So I hope you like it when people talk to you about manga, because that's what this is. Okay, so since this is, your Shonen Jump, serialized, every week there's a new chapter kind of manga, the volumes aren't exactly self-contained, so it kind of just keeps going forever. So I'm just going to talk about the setup, basically. I dropped it. I'm just going to talk about the setup and leave basically the whole, because the whole last bit of it is the beginning of a fight that goes into the next volume. So I'm just not going to talk about it because there's no resolution. What's the point? Well, I guess I could tease it, but we'll talk about the setup. That's the fun part anyways. And that's probably what's going to happen in the first 2 episodes. So it won't be a too horrible of a spoiler if this is something you actually legit want to read. Which I recommend it because I like it. Look at it. Look, that's our sweet protagonist. His hair is kind of pinkish, which I thought was really cute. I thought it was going to be blonde. But yeah, so volume summary starts now. So it starts out with our protagonist, this boy right here. His name is Itadori, Yuji Itadori. And he is with the occult club. And he likes the occult club because they let him leave before 5 because he needs to be home by 5. And that's an issue because we find out later he's super athletic. So all the athlete teams want him, especially the coach of the track team. So the student president comes busting in. He's like, you guys need 3 members to do your thing. They're like, we have 3 members. But then the coach comes in and he's like, no, you don't. I changed your application. You're actually on the track team. You have to come to track with us. And he's like, no, I don't want to. Why'd you do that? That's so lame. And he's like, okay, whatever. Let's make a deal. We're going to do the shot put when they throw the heavy ball. And whoever wins, because you have to throw it the furthest, whoever wins, well, basically, if me, the coach, wins, you have to be on the track team. But if you, Yuji Itadori, win, you stay with the occult club and it's not a big deal. And he's like, okay, whatever, it doesn't even matter. And while this whole bit is happening, let it be told, the occult club was talking about spooky stuff happening in their school, specifically with the rugby field thing, which was explained away by the student president by being ticks. Everybody got Lyme's disease, which sucks. Lyme's disease sounds really nasty. But moving on. Some kid with spiky black hair who looks like this. I wonder if he's important. Ooh, hard to tell. Walks onto the rugby field and he's like, there's a lot of cursed energy here. Which that's going to be a thing, by the way. There's lots of cursed energy all over the place. He is just casually walking in, and we, the viewer, can see this huge gigantic monster thing just chilling on a pole. So something's up. Basically, we find out that this kid with the black hair is looking for this like cursed box thing that he was supposed to bring back to Jujutsu High, which we'll get more into that later. But that's what he's looking for. That's why he's here. But yeah, so the shot put thing happens, and lo and behold, our protagonist is super physically strong. And he throws it so hard, it hits a soccer post thing and like dents into it. And he's like, "Yay, I win. I gotta go home because I have to be home by 5." And so he runs home, but he's not running home. He's actually running to the hospital where his grandpa is. Because grandpa is, I guess, old and not doing too well. So yeah, he's chatting with his grandpa. They're kind of, having fun. Little quips and stuff like that because they're cool like that. And grandpa's talking like he's about to die. Because he's right. He is about to die. And he leaves him with some like final words being like, "Hey, you're a good kid. Help people if you can." And then he dies. So Itadori is now in the lobby because grandpa just died. He's filling out some, paperwork. And you can kind of tell on his face he's been crying because that's what people do when people die. It's a sad moment for him. Anyways, the kid with the black hair, I forgot to mention something. I'm bad at explaining things. When Itadori was leaving school, they like cross paths for a moment. And he's like, "Cursed energy." And like that's it. So that was like the only time they kind of met. So basically the kid with the black hair follows him. My apologies. Moving on. He like shows up there while he's filling out his paperwork, and he's like, "You," and this is when we find out because it has like the little cutaway. His name is Megumi. He's cool, I guess. We don't know too much about him at this point. And he's like, you have this box thing I'm looking for." He's like showing him his phone. And he's like, "Well, yeah, I do. The cursed. The occult club was going to do stuff with it tonight." And he's like, Megumi's like, "Well, okay, don't, because it's like super cursed. Can I have it?" And Itadori's like, "I guess, yeah, but like, why? I should probably tell them why I'm giving this back to you." And he starts like going on about curses. And he's like, "This one in particular is like a special grade cursed object. I need to take it back because it'll kill everyone. Oh no." And Itadori's just like, "Oh, well, okay, here you go." And gives him back the box. And he opens the box and it's empty. And he's like, "Where's the thing inside of it?" And he's like, "I just told you they were going to do stuff with it tonight. Why aren't you listening to me?" And they're like, "Bro, really bad stuff is about to happen. People are going to die." So they both run all the way back to school. Like, as they're running, the occult club is peeling off the little seals. And once all the seals are off, they see it's this really nasty, crusty finger. And they're like, "Ew." And then the ceiling literally opens up and all these spirity cursed things start coming through it. And they're royally screwed, basically. So they get up to the school. Megumi can tell stuff is already starting to happen. And he's like, "Okay, I'm going in there. You stay here, because you'll die." And Itadori's like, "Okay, whatever you say, boss." So Megumi goes in. We see his ability. He can make, like, shadow puppets. I don't know how to make shadow puppets. This is Naruto. How do you even make the dog? He does the dog one, and these, like, ghostly shadow dogs come out. It's really cool, honestly. I'm excited to see that animated, because I bet it's going to look, like, awesome. And so he's, like, trying to get through there with all the cursed things attacking him and all that, and like they've already attacked the students. Students are still alive though, so they're trying to save them. They're fighting, and Itadori finds Megumi finds the finger, and he's like, "Special grade, cursed object, Sukuna, 'cause that's what it's called, which will be important later. I found it." And like stuff are still attacking him. He's not doing too hot, to be honest. So yeah, he's like struggling, and meanwhile, outside, Itadori is like, and he's like thinking about his grandpa's last words, and he was like, "He told me to help people, and I'm just standing out here doing nothing. This feels like cursed." And we're back at Megumi. He is struggling, and then he's on the 4th floor, by the way. And then Itadori jumps through the window, and is like, "I'm here!" And so he starts like trying to fight too, and they start fighting this like really big monster. And like Megumi's like out. He like smacks him into a wall and Megumi's out. And Itadori's trying to like punch him and stuff, but it's not working. And Megumi's like, you can't do any damage to it. You don't have any curse energy or anything like that. And Itadori sees the finger. He's like, I just need curse energy and then I'll be able to hit it, right? And Megumi's like, yeah, that's what I just said. So this kid has like the big brain idea to just eat the finger. This nasty, crusty finger. And that's what he does. And then he's able to fight the monster. He like obliterates it. But the issue is he's not Itadori anymore. He's Sukuna, the finger that he just ate, which is bad. So now that he's Sukuna, he gets these cool markings all over. I'll probably try to put a picture up right here. But he's like, blah, I'm Sukuna. I'm evil. I'm evil. I'm going to do all these evil things because I'm alive again. And then he grabs his own throat and it's Itadori. He's like, bro, this is my body. Give it back. How rude. He's got big, like, one brain cell energy. I kind of adore him. Megumi starts getting back up. And he's like, okay, well, now you're a curse. So I have to exercise you. Sorry, bro. Like, no hard feelings. Chapter ends. We cut to the next bit. And it's Itadori with his hands tied behind his back in this room, like covered in seals, and there's this dude sitting backwards on a chair like a really cool substitute teacher, and he's wearing like this like blindfold masky thing. He's got white hair. I adore this character, so I love him. And he's like, well, guess what? Your execution has been set. You're gonna die, dude. That sucks for him. And okay, so like we're there. We actually cut back to we cut back to the roof where they were fighting that big monster thing and he ate the finger. All the things happened. So Megumin was like, oh, I gotta curse you. I gotta exorcise you. And Itadori's like, no, bro, it's cool. I'm back. It's me. You probably need to go to the hospital. You're like dying. And then this mask face dude pops up and is like, hey, what's the situation? What's going on? You know, I'm here now, I guess. And Megumi's like, Gojo-sensei, what are you doing here? That's his intro. He's the teacher. His name is Gojo. And I adore him. Have I mentioned that before? Just so you know, I adore him. So Gojo pops up. He's like, hey, where's the finger? Did he find it? And he's like, well, he just ate it. It's so gross. It's so nasty, too. Gross. And yeah, so Itadori's like, yeah, I ate it. Whoops. But I needed to fight this thing. So, like, you know. And they're just like, what? That was supposed to kill you. Why didn't it kill you? And he's like, I don't know. Turns out he's the perfect vessel for Sukuna, so that's good for him. And Gojo's like, well, okay, hold up. So you were Sukuna for a second, but then you came back. Can you do that again in 10 seconds? And he's like, I can try, I guess. So he switches back to Sukuna. And he's like, bam, Sukuna again. And Gojo's like, all right, this is cool. This is my chance to show off. So they fight for like a little bit, for like 10 seconds. And he's like, all right, your time's almost up. You gotta switch back. And he does it. He switches back. And Gojo's like, okay, cool, you switch back. And knocks him out anyways. And he's kind of just like carrying him now. And Gojo asks Megumi, he's like, hey, what do you want to do? You're my precious student. And he's like, well, I don't want to kill him. I want to see if we can find a way to let him live. And he's like, well, okay, I'm your teacher. I'll try to do what I can. And we cut all the way back to when they're in that sealed room. And Gojo's so like, hey, you're gonna die. Whoops. Unless. And he like reveals the master plan of what they want to do with him as the vessel of Sukuna. And all the other fingers, because there's 20 fingers, because Sukuna had 4 arms, that still need to be like dealt with. Thus, the whole situation of the series is revealed. Basically, what they want to do is have Itadori eat all of Sukuna's fingers and then kill him so they can get rid of Sukuna for good. And ultimately, Itadori agrees. He's like, well, okay, I guess I'll do that. And so that's how it starts. And that's the quick summary of the first little chunk of the manga. Like, obviously we're gonna get other villains introduced, and they're gonna fight other students get introduced because it is going to take place in this high school, even though it's like not a whole lot of students. Each like year has like 3 kids in it. Like even in the first manga, we meet the principal and there's like this whole trial to make sure he's going to be a good student. And then we get introduced to the other kid in their class. There's only 3 of them because you know that shonen trifecta. But yeah, they introduce her and she's probably my favorite one there. I absolutely love her. But yeah, like I said earlier, the whole volume ends with like the intro of this fight where the 3 students, Megumi, the girl's name is what? Let's see if I can remember it. Nobara Kugisaki. And I wrote it down and I was right. Thank God. So yeah, Megumi, Kugisaki, and Itadori fight this monster who's supposed to be like the same grade as Sukuna, and then like it ends halfway through the fight. So the next volume picks it up. And you know, it's fun for the whole family, which is a filthy lie. This one is actually really gory. It's really nasty. There's a lot of dismemberment. There's a villain later whose like whole thing is that he can like transfigure his body. So it's gross. So if you don't like gross things, I can't recommend this one. But if you're cool with gross things, then I can recommend this one. It's good. But yeah, like I said earlier, this was one that like I could not stop reading. I was having a lot of fun with it. The art style is like really scratchy. There's a lot of hatching involved, which I think is really nice. I love Gojo. I'm just flipping through it now. I love Kugisaki, who's introduced like in the latter half of this first volume. She's honestly kind of perfect. Megumi is one of those characters that's like instantly, he has a lot of like faith in humanity, and so he tries to protect it, which I think is so precious and like the perfect thing to round off this like trifecta. He's a little bit of a soft boy. It's cute. And like yeah, later we get some. They're like the first year students, so we meet the upperclassmen. One of them straight up a panda. That's really fun for me. Thoroughly enjoy that bit. And if I remember correctly, there's like a tournament arc later. This is a fun one. I like it. Where the manga's at right now, the whole arc has been going on for like 33 parts or something like that. It's probably more at this point. So it has been kind of like slow because that's what happens when you're reading week by week. But the most recent chapter like picked up a lot for me because it's one of my favorite characters coming in the fight. Anyways, what I am trying to say here is I am really looking forward to seeing this one animated again because even though I reread this volume and I reread the second volume for this video specifically, I think it's going to be a lot of fun to watch because there's a lot of like cinematic fun bits with it, and I think specifically Megumi's like ability is going to be really fun to watch. And that's my consensus, I think. I'm going to check my notes real quick, make sure I talked about everything I wanted to talk about. And I did, I'm so good. So yeah, the first episode premieres on the 3rd. Hopefully the series keeps going the way it's going because I love it. And I will hopefully talk about more spooky manga for the month of October because that's what's fun for me. That's the end of this video, and I hope you don't eat any fingers because that's super nasty, and I kind of need to go eat my lunch now, but I don't want to think about eating fingers while I'm eating my lunch. So this is what I've done to myself today. Goodbye.